Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have three objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who is helping me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Jaime Hrobar, who discusses with us very candidly many aspects of her life she's overcome. One of those things is addiction, alcoholic addiction. That caused her to doubt God in some ways, but yet she overcame atheism. And then she discusses with us her son, who is profoundly disabled and it's autistic to the point where he is nonverbal. Marty, it's an opportunity for us to learn through Jaime how to overcome life adversities that in some cases, some people might feel that, no, I'm just overwhelmed with too many things that I just cannot get beyond where I am. But Jaime gives people hope. Now, we tended to focus on her autistic son, but Marty, what are some takeaways that we gave from Jaime?
Jamie's been through a lot, and the smile on her face, it is such a sweet smile, but she also has a heart with a smile. And her heart is to get this message out that no matter what you're going through, perseverance, and you can make it. And she has shown that.
And Marty, the heart attitude is a very good takeaway from this. Everybody, no matter what we're experiencing, can overcome when we associate with the right people who are positive thinking and want to help us overcome. Let's listen and learn together. Jaime, it is great to have you with us. Our listeners are going to be absolutely intrigued with your background. And as you describe it, you have overcome addiction, atheism, and you are right now parenting a child with severe autism, nonverbal, severely nonverbal. Jaime, you have been through a lot in life, and our listeners are going to know how did you cope with, how did you overcome, if you feel you've overcome, or do you have to deal with a daily type thing? But Jaime, I've just covered a whole expanse of topics, but our listeners are entrepreneurial learning people where we learn from evaluated life experiences. But Jaime, let me just start as a place to start. You overcame an addiction. Do you feel comfortable explaining just a little bit about that? We don't need intimate details.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. And thank you again for having me on the podcast. It's an honor and a privilege anytime I get to talk about this subject. In terms of my addiction, the best way to sum it up is for 20 years, I was a fall down, blackout drunk. And I never really knew why I couldn't stop. I would get up every morning and I would stand in front of the mirror and make these promises to myself and say, I'm never going to do it again. And trying to piece together the night before, totally full of guilt and shame and remorse. There were tons of what I thought were plenty of reasons, I thought, as to why I drank. Today I understand that all of those things were excuses. And so I didn't realize that I didn't have the power to choose whether or not I was going to drink or not. I would stand in front of the mirror every day and say these things with every fiber of my being that I'm not going to do it. And by the end of the day, I was drunk. And what I didn't realize that was happening, beyond the power of choice. I had lost a long time ago. I lost the power of choice where drink was concerned. And so I came to 12-step recovery many years ago, and walked into the rooms and thought I would just kind of do things my way. I've always been a doer. I go after things very self-reliant. I lived my whole life very self-reliant. And so I was going to come in and do this thing my way. I knew I had to try to maybe kind of control my drinking. And I thought that's what I needed to do. I just couldn't figure out how to control it. And, I came to find out that it wasn't going to work that way, that nothing I was going to do was going to help me to control it, because once I put it in my body, I can't stop. And so after trying to do 12-step recovery my own way, sort of a buffet style approach, I fell flat on my face and crawled back and became willing to do whatever was necessary to follow directions, and really embrace the entire program, which included connecting with and finding a higher power. And as a result of doing all of that, finally becoming willing to give myself to the whole thing. I do believe that I have overcome this thing. I basically, as long as I stay very spiritually fit, and I follow, the guidelines, the steps of 12-step recovery, it is not a problem for me on a daily basis. I don't get up in the morning and worry about whether or not I'm going to drink today. That is not anything that enters my mind anymore.
In hindsight, did you feel inadequate at a younger age, however far back it may go? And did you think that I might be able to overcome my inadequacies by drinking, only to have it return after you sobered up?
I definitely felt feelings of inadequacy growing up. Absolutely. I always felt, and I don't know why, because nobody ever said that to, my family never said anything like that to me. I came from a very loving family, but there was something inside of me where I just didn't feel good enough. I was not pretty enough. I was not smart enough. I didn't feel like I was enough. And there was like this gaping hole inside that I didn't even realize. And I spent, most of my life trying to fill that hole, that void inside. And I often say that I tried to fill it with food, booze, and husbands. And so I just was always trying to make myself feel better. I always felt less than. And then at the same time, depending on the situation, I felt better then. I'm described, I didn't come up with this phrase, but a lot of times you'll hear I'm an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. And I was very much that way.
Now, what I'm interpreting you're saying is you had feelings of inadequacy, and through 20 years of addiction, did you say?
Yes.
Wow. You encountered the 12-step program, but it seems as if you said very quickly, you had a spiritual awakening. I don't know that I've characterized all that correctly, but put that in your own words, Jamie. In 20 years, you did eventually overcome, and it was through various things, but it did include a spiritual awakening, only if I'm interpreting what you said correctly.
Yes, that's correct. When I showed up, I still had my house, I still had my children. I'm sure that had I continued on the path that I had been on, probably I would have lost those things, I would imagine. And that hole that I was talking about, there was like this hole in my soul, and I didn't even know it. And so for me, having these feelings of inadequacy, and I would drink whether it was good or bad. It didn't matter, right? If it was a wedding or a funeral, I needed something inside of me to get me feeling okay. I just never felt okay. And so the minute I put this alcohol in my body, the first time I did it, everything got just fine. I was okay. I could finally like interact. And so that was my answer to everything. Alcohol was like my answer to just trying to feel normal. And I didn't realize that there was this hole inside that came much later, that understanding. And so when I came into 12-step recovery, and I'm hearing about, I'm hearing it's a spiritual program. I was brought up in religion. I am not a religious person. I don't have anything against religions, but I personally am not a religious person. But I heard spiritual, and I immediately interpreted that as religious, because I hear what I want to hear, basically. And so that's what I heard, and as soon as I heard it, I just shut it down. But I thought, well, I need to kind of figure out how to get a handle on this drinking thing, so I'll hang around, and I enjoyed all of the people, and I related to so many of the stories and all of that, but I wasn't going to do any of that spiritual stuff, and I don't want to hear about God and any of that. And no one was telling me what kind of God it needed to be. Again, I hear what I want to hear, or I just mix everything around. And so I was not going to have anything to do with that. And so I tried to do all of this stuff my way. I mean, bottom line, I half-assed it, which was interesting because I never really half-assed anything in my life. But when it came to this, I wasn't going to give myself to this program. And it wasn't until I had this horrific relapse, because I managed to stay dry for a good bit. But what I didn't understand was that this disease of alcoholism that I have centers in, I have an allergic reaction to alcohol when I put it in my body. I understand that today. That makes total sense to me now as to why all of those times that I said, I'm only going to have two, why it never wound up that way. I never understood why. I understand that once I put it in, I basically activate the launch sequence and the rocket takes off, and I don't know when it's coming down or where I'm going to be when I wake up. So there's that piece of it, right? But there's also this mental component, and I didn't realize I wasn't doing anything to treat any of that. And so, I did stay dry for a period of time, but eventually there came a time where, I kind of forgot about all of the stuff that had happened in the past. It never even entered my mind. And I thought, enough time has passed. I could probably have one. I mean, I think I could have one this time. And then, tomorrow I'll just get back on the horse. I won't do it. And I did not understand at that time what being powerless over alcohol meant. But I quickly found out, because what transpired after that is what I like to call my confirmation drunk. And that lasted 1 year and 2 months. And so it was brutal. I am grateful to be sitting here having this conversation with you, because when I talk, I often say that 3 things should have happened to me, from where I'm sitting and from the way I look at what my life has been like. I should be dead. I should be probably locked in somebody's basement, maybe being tortured, or I should be behind bars. I mean, those are the 3 things really that should have happened, that should have resulted. And instead, I came crawling through the doors by God's grace. I'm sure that's what it was. And I finally became willing to listen. I sat in my chair and I opened up my ears and my eyes and my heart, and I became willing. And I thought, you know what, Jaime? They've been talking about you need a higher power and you need to have God in your life. And, maybe that doesn't sound like a great thing to you, but how's it been working out for you without one? Like, how's it going? And the bottom line was, when I looked at the evidence, it didn't look very good. So I became willing to do all of the steps. I continued to work the steps. I absolutely have had a spiritual awakening as a result of doing those steps. And I have, not only have I had this awakening, but I have, for this woman that showed up an atheist, I have a personal relationship. I have a personal and an active relationship with a higher power that I choose to call God today. And that is remarkable, because if any, I used to think that, I mentioned I came in an atheist, and we've talked briefly about me being a mother to a son with severe nonverbal autism. He's 21 years old. And it has been a very long road. And I had doubted, whether or not there was a God or a higher power or anything like that for many years growing up. And then when my son was diagnosed, I was not angry with God. But what happened was, I thought, if there was one, I don't think he, she, it, whatever, would allow this to happen. I don't think God would allow these bad things to happen. And so I was not angry. That just sort of put the nail in the coffin for me. And I just said, there just can't be one. And I moved on from there, and, because I was saying, well, where's God while I'm dealing with all of these severe behaviors with my son, and we're in these hospitals and all of these horrible issues that were going on, where's God? Because, as far as I know, I'm the only one here, and I just took it on. And that is like the story of my whole life. Like, I'll do it, I'll fix it, I got it. And, looking back over my life today, when I really examine things and take a look and try to, and I don't even have to try to connect the dots anymore. They've been connected. God's grace was there the whole time. I just lacked the humility to see it. That's the bottom line.
That's a wow statement. I want to try to interpret what you might be saying to our listeners. But through 12-step, you knew there was a spiritual aspect, and I'm going to describe Jamie, and I may be off base with this, and don't hesitate to tell me I'm off base. But spiritual people, maybe religious people, were a turnoff to you. That's maybe one thing. But then, if God is so good, maybe Jamie was thinking, why would you allow me to be who I am, going through this disease and so forth? Therefore, God, you can't exist. Is that anywhere? Does that resemble at all the road toward atheism? I want to take a very brief moment to tell you about myself, the Cooper Culture, a certified veteran-owned small business. I am a retired lieutenant colonel serving the Air Force for 22 years as an F-4 pilot, commander. I have 300 combat missions. I specialize in executive leadership training, team building, and workplace culture, where we help businesses to develop a culture of loyalty, trust, and by developing personality traits and personal strengths, we can help identify those traits that support the company's objectives. We do this through half-day and all-day training shops. I'm also a public speaker, where I welcome the opportunity to speak with your group to help you develop your team to the point where people are loyal and they know exactly how they fit in the organization and contribute to your strategic objectives. Through that, you will have a very profitable company and a psychologically safe space where people know they can freely discuss everything about the company themselves, and we are always working together to progress. Contact me at ron@thecooperculture.com. Our website is thecooperculture.com. Look forward to the opportunity to speak with your group, work with your group, to take your group to the next level, to where we soar together. Let's work together.
That is definitely part of it. So it wasn't really just my own struggles with alcohol that led me to that place. I had family that struggled with addiction. I had a lot of family members that had suffered with cancer. I witnessed a lot of loss as a young child. I mean, just the things I would see in the news, or in my own community, and I'm observing all of this going, how could there be a God? and what I have come to believe about God and these bad things that happen. For me, I believe that God is good, and if it's not good, then it's not God. And that, to your point, that's a bold statement coming out of my mouth for sure. I mean, I just have a completely different feeling about it, a completely different mindset. My world has been turned right side up, and that's grace. That's a miracle.
Jamie, I've spoken with a lot of people who have gone through different things in the background, and I, myself included, with my own background, but I believe your past does not define you, except as you choose it to define you. However, your past might inspire you to be who you are in the present and in the future. But as I'm listening to you, I'm believing you would advocate that, yep, you're not a victim of your past, but rather you are a victor over your past, and you are going to use your past as an inspiration to your future to help others. I don't want to assume anything, Jamie, but that's how I'm interpreting the smile on your face and the exuberance in your voice.
I think you hit the nail on the head, really. For me, you used a key word there, victim. And I was always the victim. I thought, everything was always happening to me, I didn't know it at the time. I mean, I didn't realize that I was full of all of this self-pity and resentments and all of these things. I didn't realize that. But looking back, everything that happened, it was always somebody else's fault. And so, through the process of doing the work and the 12 steps, I was able to really take a look, what is the truth about me? What is the truth about my life? What is the truth about how I have shown up and how I have affected relationships, finally taking some ownership and accountability and responsibility. And the truth was that I couldn't be standing there in the middle of all of these problems, all of these situations, all of these broken relationships and things, and thinking like that I'm not the common denominator. Obviously, I was the common denominator. All of this happened, everybody was out to get me. I don't think so. And so I love that you say that about being a victim, because that is truly how I operated, though I didn't realize it. Today I can see that clearly. And in terms of using my past, I came to 12-step recovery full of what we talked about earlier, just, guilt and remorse and shame and, oh my goodness, embarrassment and the looking at the mess that I had made. And all of those things that were such liabilities, today I get to use them for something good. Today I can sit with other women who have, are experiencing some of the things that I have gone through, that are not sure how to get sober, how to stay sober. They don't think they'll ever get over these feelings of guilt and shame and remorse and embarrassment and all of that, and today I can sit with these women and talk, and some of these things we can even laugh about. There's now, to some people they might not be funny, but today there's a little bit of levity there because I don't live there anymore. I'm not living that way. And I can let these women know that they don't have to either. We can get on the other side of this thing. We can help other women recover. And to your point, that is absolutely my purpose today.
You mentioned you have a severely nonverbal son, autistic, neurodiverse. I want to ask you a question out of total ignorance, but is that a result of your past? In other words, is that a genetic trait at all, or is there no relationship with that?
My understanding is that there are genes involved, where autism is concerned, and certainly I have actually 2 boys with autism, and so my understanding is that genes are involved. It is genetic, and so
It seems, my perception is, there are more people diagnosed with, I'm going to use the very general term of neurodiversity. It seems now there's an increasing percentage of people who are, maybe because we are medically understand more about it. I'm just very curious. Um, how do you work with? I just became aware you have two sons who are neurodiverse. Um, wow. Do you feel you've had to enter a whole new aspect of life raising neurodiverse children?
It's very different for sure. I will say I often say I'm the mom in the middle. So I have both of my boys, they're on opposite ends of the autism spectrum. So my older son that is 21, he is severe and nonverbal, as I mentioned. My younger son is extremely high functioning. Most of his struggles were early on in very early childhood. Both boys received early intervention immediately. My oldest got early intervention services at a year and a half old, and my second son received early intervention at 11 months old. So they were both diagnosed extremely early on. My older one, his symptoms presented very strongly. So it was very clear that something was going on. He was regressing in his language, in his skills, in imitation. I mean, he was moving along, and then everything came to a screeching halt. And then we started seeing a lot of stereotypic behaviors, self-injurious behaviors. So that was very clear. We needed to hurry up and do something. With my younger son, because my older son had been at a private school for several years for individuals with autism, and I had been around tons of therapists and doctors and other individuals with autism, I knew what to look for. And so as soon as my younger son started exhibiting some of these signs, we intervened immediately. So that's why they were both diagnosed as early as they were. But yes, it has been a full-time job. I do not say that as to imply that my older son is a burden at all. That is not what I mean. But our life has revolved around therapies and doctors and sensory issues and self-injury and so many hospitalizations. I mean, it's a whole, trying to teach him how to communicate. Therapists in and out of our home all of the time, which I am not complaining about. It is a blessing. There are so many families out there that need these therapies that don't have access to them. So I don't mean to make it sound that way, but my second husband one time, and I don't think he meant anything badly by this, but it's constant. And he said one day, he said, that everything revolves around Jim. And I said, yes, it does. Yes, it does revolve around Jim, and he wasn't trying to be derogatory or anything, but he was making a statement because we were talking about something, but that is the truth. Everything did revolve around Jim because it has to. Jim is 21 years old, and he needs assistance with all daily living skills. He cannot brush his teeth by himself. He cannot shower by himself. He cannot make a meal by himself. He, obviously he can't operate a car. He can't use a writing utensil. He can't write. He is profoundly affected with autism. But he is also my greatest teacher and such a joy and such a light. And he reminds me and many others on a regular basis to be grateful for all that we have in life and for the abilities that so many of us possess that we take for granted.
Wow, what a great attitude. I'll say very candidly, Marty and I have a 19-year-old high spectrum autistic granddaughter, and her social battery can run out after 2 or 3 hours, something like that. She can be extremely talkative, social, and she's an open book, so to speak.
Yep.
And
yeah.
Okay. And so, yes, some common traits here. But
my younger one is also an open book. Yeah.
wow. And so, gosh, Jamie, I think this I just have a sense we need to talk more about neurodiversity. Marty and I are talking to you as grandparents, and so I let me just ask you, and hope you'll be very candid with us. We are learning on with every book we read, every conversation we have, with every and the last hour is not necessarily going to be indicative of what the next hour is going to be, type thing. And so we are in the process of learning. And so we don't want to get in the way of grandparents, but we want to be as helpful as we can, knowing that the parents are primarily in charge. When the granddaughter is with us, we want to enforce the rules that you have established at home and so forth. And we may have some observations, but in the context that we're learning, Jamie, that's a lot of backstory to say that we grandparents don't want to get in the way, but we're learning and we want to be helpful. And you may tell us as grandparents, well, don't try to be too helpful or something of that nature. And Jamie, we are still today trying to balance being effective grandparents. Any insight you can give grandparents who are listening would be just very helpful.
I think just hearing you say, that you're trying to do everything and learn and be loving and caring grandparents. I mean, I think that's all that anyone can ask for, and I think, of course, as we were talking earlier, it is it's such a large spectrum, and so it's hard to say, when grandparenting someone like Jim. Allowing parents to hold firm on their rules, because oftentimes there are behavioral issues. There can be very serious behavioral issues, and so while a lot of times friends or grandparents or other family members, whomever, they think that they're doing something to try to maybe help a situation or calm an individual down or something like that. And unfortunately, we can be inadvertently reinforcing a negative behavior. So, just asking if there are any types of protocols or procedures in place, or is there anything that you want me to avoid doing, just keeping an open dialogue, and then just kind of, respecting whatever it is that the family is not allowing or working towards or whatever. But I think just always, open invitations, even if family members can't come. I mean, I was giving an interview recently about this over the holidays. A lot of times we can't go to things, but we do like to be invited. And I think just, always letting family know that you are there for them, or a great way to support, if you can, not your grandchild is older, but for younger kids, parents need a break. If that's possible. I couldn't always leave my son with family because of how severe his behaviors were. But I think just trying to, be open-minded, be compassionate, be caring, be willing to learn, and trying to meet everybody where they are, I think is really the best advice I could give, because we're all in different places.
Jamie, as I feel like I want to bring this in for a landing, but before I do, I want to ask you, would you consider at least one more episode to address neurodiversity? Because I think there are a lot of parents who are listening who feel they segregated from, let's just call it, if I'm using the correct term, neurotypical children. They have neurotypical children. We don't. Therefore, you people may feel that you're separated. You may not be invited to, and so forth and so on. Have you experienced any of that kind of alienation?
To be honest, we have experienced it even within the special needs community, to be frank. And I'm starting to talk about that a little bit more and more. At first I was like, do I go there? But I'm going to go there because I think it's important. And so because of the level of severity that we're talking about, with my son Jim. Even some programs here in our local area, he cannot participate in because of how severe some of his symptoms present. And we're hoping that if we can get some qualified personnel with him to accompany him, we might be able to work something out. But it has been a barrier. It's been a barrier for him because he can't just go to some of the day programs that we have in our area. But yes, I mean, we have experienced all of what you're talking about. And I think also I would love to come back and talk more about this, because there's a whole community out there, a very large community out there of special needs parents that are not dealing, there are the Christians of the world, like my son, who, I mean, this kid is going on a Boy Scout trip tomorrow. He's going to Darlington Raceway to do a NASCAR race. He's going camping. He's going to do, Christian leads just a regular life, and he's living his best life as far as I'm concerned. I wish I got to go do all he's getting to do. But then, and that's one part of it, right? But then you have this other part of it where there are families that are raising kids like Jim, who are dealing with extreme self-injury and aggression and property destruction and, hospitalizations all of the time, very, very serious medical issues. And so I truly am the mom in the middle. And so there's a lot out there that needs to be discussed. And I am trying very hard to bring light to some of these issues, because they're not always talked about.
Also, I'd like for you to talk about the grief. I think sometimes, and our daughter, they feel bad that they grieve, because this is who God created. And so the grief and how you go through the grief. Even as a grandmother, you go through grief.
Yeah. You want me to talk about that now, or you want me to? We'll do that next time.
No. Let's address that in another episode. And Jamie, there's a possibility 2 or 3 more episodes, but
I'm here for it, Ron. I'm here for it.
Thank you. Our listeners need to know, and I am actively seeking employers who want to work with and choose to adapt to the neurodiverse people who are, in many cases, are very employable. But it's a matter of understanding these people and adapting to them. Jamie, you can be a huge help in helping us to educate other people. We look forward to having another episode with you in the very near future. Let's continue this conversation, because there are a lot of people who can benefit from your evaluated life experience. Jamie, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you both, Ron and Marty. It has been an honor and a privilege. I'm grateful that I got to chat with you.
Thank you.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, MARTY, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and disc personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.